Hello. My vision for Scotland is one where the right incentives, infrastructures, and behaviours exist right across society to reduce the levels and the impacts of consumption, including by having long lasting, low impact, repairable products. And I think that government policy has a big role to play in that. That's things that government can do in terms of regulation and taxation and information provision to make sure businesses and people do the right things too. So I'm going to talk through 5 different options which may need to be used in conjunction and which isn't an exhaustive list, but these are some that I think would have a particularly high impact. The first is an idea called extended producer responsibility. And the aim of this is to make polluters pay. And how it works is that the producers, so those people who are creating and putting products and packaging on the market, pay the full cost for what they put on the market, or at a minimum for its impacts, or at a minimum for the recycling, landfill, and incineration costs. And the rationale behind this is that it targets those people that have the biggest potential impact because they're making the design decisions. And in that way, it encourages good design and will reduce impacts. And as an idea, it could theoretically be used to tackle impacts from raw material extraction through the production process, through use, and through end of life. Although in practice, it does tend to focus on end of life. That means when you throw something out in the black bin or in the recycling, and it either goes to recycling, landfill, or incineration, producers are made to pay for those sorts of costs. The second option is also targeted at producers, and it's resource efficiency standards and labeling. And the aim here is to improve products design. And how it works is products and packaging are only allowed to be placed on the market if they meet certain criteria. So that could be to do with how much energy it used, the production process, how durable it is, whether it's reusable or recyclable, those sorts of things. And the rationale behind this is that, first of all, we know that it's been successful already at reducing the amount of energy that household appliances use. These standards exist, and they mean that you've got more effective vacuum cleaners, for instance, than you used to have, but they also use less energy. Because one of the things that it encourages is design innovations. So the designers have a challenge that they have to create these better products to put them on the market. And it does tend to save consumers money, either in energy use or because they don't have to keep buying products. And also it satisfies public demand for long-lasting repairable products. We know that people are frustrated by things like inbuilt obsolescence or just when products fail before they think they should. The third option is to set targets for high impact sectors. So the aim here would be to reduce the amount of material used and the emissions created by industry. And it would work by setting targets for high impact sectors, ensuring that they reduce their impacts. And so that would mean that sectors like construction, electronics, and fashion, we know they've got a lot of untapped potential when it comes to reducing their emissions. So they would be given these targets that would incentivize a reduction in emissions and in material use. And in that way, it would provide relatively quick wins. And another potential advantage of this is that it's relatively easy for government to administer compared to things like extended producer responsibility and resource standards. The fourth option would be taxes or charges placed on producers. And the aim for this would be to put a price on carbon or pollution or on resource use that we know has high impacts, and to lower their impacts. So it's normally done, it's most often done for carbon, which I know you'll be hearing about from someone else. Producers are either charged or taxed based on the amount they emit, but it could also be used for materials to incentivize lower material use. It's favoured by economists as the most efficient way to decarbonize if you're looking at a carbon tax. And it has already been successful to some extent, although there's a feeling that the price needs to be much higher. And I'd say that it also could be used to reduce unnecessary material use or high impact materials. So there's a tax that's coming in on plastic already. So for non-recycled plastic, some producers are going to have to pay a tax if they're not using enough recycled content. And that's in part because recycled content has a lower impact. And then the final option is also for taxes, and it would be to change how the tax system works on products or services to encourage people to buy greener goods and services. And how this would work would be a reform to VAT, value added tax, which is already the UK's tax on consumption. And so it would either be overhauled or replaced so that green products and services have either a low tax or no tax, and the dirtier products and services would have a higher tax. So the idea here is that it would reverse the status quo where people feel that green products are more expensive than the dirtier alternatives. And another big thing it would do would be to incentivize labor-intensive industries that help preserve materials and reduce carbon, such as reuse, repair, and sharing. Because at the moment, both products, both labour and materials are charged VAT, and that disincentivizes those industries that potentially would use more labour but fewer resources. And finally, it could ensure that the taxes that I was talking about before, the taxes on producers, have more of an impact by making sure that they pass down the chain and also to consumers who are making the final purchasing decisions. And so you'd see a price change that would increase the impact potentially that taxes on producers have. So those are 5 different options, and there are others, but I think that those are some of the most effective, and I look forward to speaking to you about them more later. Thanks very much.